Fallout 76 has a bit of a DLC problem, and unfortunately, I'm not too sure what the solution is. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, today Bethesda actually released our first little tidbit about the third part of the Brotherhood of Steel update, which is due next year, alongside a couple of other bits of reminders about current stuff going on in the game. And it poses a slight problem, to say the least, and presents a situation that is definitely suboptimal. So, let's have a little look at that and look at why and what's going on and what maybe Bethesda can do about it and what the situation is. So, first up, we have a new Inside the Vault blog post today, and most of it, as I say, is just repeating stuff we've covered before. There's the Take on the Steel Dawn questline. We already know about that. It's been out for 10 days plus at this point. About 10 days anyway. We've got a few bits and pieces there, and we also have a little reminder of the community calendar, which has had a small update. If we have a look at that, we can see that a couple of little bits and pieces have been removed, which are just external events, and the stuff that's going on in-game is continuing. And beyond that, we have a little reminder about the double score week that is running this week. That's from Tuesday through till this coming Monday. So if you haven't yet finished Armor Ace and the Power Patrol, dive in while you got the chance and get your double score. And hopefully you can hit that rank 100, get that awesome armor, get the greenhouse, all that good stuff, before the season ends on the 15th. So, the thing that is particularly interesting is the update regarding Steel Dawn. So, on Monday we posted a brand new trailer for the Steel Dawn update, which is now available to all Fallout 76 players. In case you missed the trailer, we've included it below, so that those of you who haven't logged on since the update can get pumped to experience the new Brotherhood of Steel questline. Okay, it's fine. This is the Fractured Steel trailer, which I mentioned the other day, but link to the blog post down below as usual if you want to catch it over there. But additionally, following the launch of Steel Dawn, we've seen a few questions from the community asking about Fractured Steel quests. Originally, we had planned the Brotherhood storyline to release in 3 parts, spread out over the course of a year. A few months ago, we chose to instead combine the first 2 parts, Steel Dawn and Fractured Steel, which we felt would make the Brotherhood's arrival a much more impactful and fun experience. We released them together in last week's patch, but there's still more to come. The final portion of the Brotherhood questline, Steel Rain, is still planned for the release in 2021. Speaking of quests, we also introduced the home expansion quest in the Steel Dawn update, which will let you net a free camp shelter, find the shelter's claim posted at any train station, or claim a free one for your camp in the Atomic Shop to begin the quest and unlock your Vault Utility Room shelter. That's a terrible sentence, but anyway. The previous paragraph here is the one that I have some concern about, specifically that the update that we received last week is in fact 2 updates. And as I'm sure most of you guys are well aware by now, it took me around about, I think it was 8 hours across 3 streams to get through the whole update. I was just slowed down a bit by streaming, as per usual, but it's all good. Very much enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with that. But if that's 2 updates, and there's only 1 more to go, it stands to reason that the remaining part is going to be half the length of the one we've already had. So, 4 hours? That's really short. Like, really, really short. Which is kind of a problem. Obviously, the idea here is spreading these DLCs out and putting new story beats out several times a year is to keep people interested over the course of the year, keep people playing. But 4 hours of content ain't gonna do it. And that, in short, is the problem. The reason this is occurring, and one of the big things that springs to mind for me, is sort of comparing it back to the Wild Appalachia stuff of Summer Before Last, which felt like those updates were, some of them were bigger, some of them were same size or smaller. The Waste on Xion was pretty short, but it was only a small section. Whereas the encrypted stuff surrounding the Sheep Squatch, that was all a bit more drawn out and a bit more sizable, or it felt it anyway. Maybe I'm looking at it now through rose-tinted glasses, but who knows. But either way, currently 8 hours. It's going to be less on my second run through, I'm sure, to get through 2 DLC. That's not going to keep people engaged in story content for the long haul, which is definitely a problem. So the reason for this, in short, the reason for the change is this team working on Fallout 76 is basically the same size it's always been from day one, at least since launch anyway. But what we're asking of them in terms of the DLC has gotten significantly more intense, specifically with things like NPCs. Obviously, waiting for Wastelanders took quite a while. I think it was something like 9 months between the last update and then Wastelanders. Obviously, that doesn't include the full development period of Wastelanders. That was more like a whole year for them to work on that, sort of ramping up over the course of the summer and then into the 9 months of waiting, basically, which was not great. And obviously, we don't want to be waiting 9 months between every update. But with bringing in NPCs in particular, obviously, it significantly increases the amount of work Bethesda have to do in order to produce an update. Obviously, already they have to write things, they have to script it, they've got to design the new locations, design the new items, design the new characters, put them in the game. They've also got to get, obviously, NPC design sorted out, personalities, backstories, so they actually make sense, really. And they've got to get voice actors in to record the dialogue for them, and then do all the post-work on that and get it into the game. On top of that, of course, they're also working on regular patches and updates, and every other piece of basically download, updates, patch, everything like that goes on between them, all of which is being done at the same time by what is a really small team, to be honest. So the upshot is, it's not massively surprising that the content's smaller, but that doesn't really solve the problem. I mean, understanding it doesn't change the fact that there is an issue there. The size of this content compared to the amount of time it needs to last just doesn't match up, which is, in my opinion, the big problem with Fallout's DLC, I suppose, at the moment. What to do about it, to be honest, I have no idea. It's easy to say, oh well, they're not trying hard enough, they need to pick up bigger DLC, but there's only so many people, they can only do so much work in a day, and obviously they are constantly working on this. It's not like there's an end period, so it's inevitably there's a limit to the scale they can achieve with the size of the team they've got. So the obvious solution there is to increase the size of the team. But I'm pretty darn sure any developers they might want to take on are not going to do the work for free, so they've got to pay for that, and obviously business has to remain profitable. They'll need to increase their revenue if they are increasing the size of the team, which means somehow they've got to get more out of us lot, basically, which is not anybody's favourite thing, but if we want the game to survive, then Bethesda need to make some revenue, so it is what it is. So, obviously, I'm not sure really what the solution is. If Bethesda charges more for things, put more things in the Atomic Shop, maybe start charging for DLC, then they could take on more staff and increase the size of the content, but then we have to start paying for the DLC. The other possibility, obviously, is a massive increase in the player base, so more revenue comes in, thus they can fund everything. On the other hand, that would need to happen first, and it's not going to with small updates like this, and obviously, they'd also need to fix a lot of the issues that are currently happening in the game. Obviously, we've got servers being wonky as hell since Steel Dawn, which is not great, but I'm sure they're working on it. But unless they sort all of this out first, the player base isn't going to grow, which means they will have to find some other way of generating the revenue to cover the cost of an increased team size, which also isn't really going to work, because if they start charging players more, then players are going to leave. So it's kind of a no-win situation we have at the minute. So ultimately, I don't really know what the solution is, but somehow Bethesda need to be putting out larger content beats more often. Otherwise, I think people are just going to get bored, particularly between each one. I mean, 8 hours to complete Steel Dawn, and the next one's going to be, 4 hours? I mean, it might be longer, but speculation being what it is, but reasonably, I don't think we can assume that until we know more. So there's kind of not much room to move in either direction, but it's a problem they definitely need to overcome if people are going to stay interested in the game. Because obviously, getting through Steel Dawn, I've got through it once already. I'm going to get through it again by the beginning of next week as well, I've no doubt. And then after that, back to seasons and grinding out score, fine, and dailies, but people are going to drop off over time, and if they can't keep the story content to keep people engaged, the drop-off's going to continue and get worse, which is what my worry is, that ultimately the content is too small to support the game in the long term, which is worrying, especially as it's a great game, it's a lot of fun, I love playing it. I don't want to see it basically lose its player numbers and die, so they really need to come up with some kind of solution to this problem, but what that is, I don't know. Unfortunately, expecting content to come out of nowhere is wildly unrealistic, to say the least, rather. But, again, they can't really charge extra for it because they'll lose players. They can't wait for the player base to grow, because if they don't get more content and more engaging stuff out first, it won't. they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place on this one, I think, and I really hope they can pull something out of the bag on it, because at the moment I'm a little worried for the future of the game. I don't think it's going to disappear, I don't think it's going to die in a hurry, but it's not good to see that these updates are so darn small. It's worrying, to be honest. And Steel Rain and Steel Dawn was supposed to come out either around about, or rather Fractured Steel was supposed to come out around about now, and then Steel Rain, the next part, was supposed to come out in 2021, and that's supposed to keep us busy till, what, sometime over the summer? I don't think a 4-hour update is going to pull that off somehow, to be honest. So I really hope they've got more up their sleeves to reveal over the coming weeks and at the beginning of next year, because otherwise things are a little worrying. That being said, the updates are generally very high quality, the stories are fun, the characters are interesting and engaging. We had a very good natter about it on stream the other day, so if you haven't seen it already, there's a playlist I'll probably link somewhere up here. You can catch up and see my experiences as I went through the DLC. But I hope Bethesda can pull this out of the bag somehow. I don't really know what the solution is. I'm certainly no kind of expert on these things, but yeah, they do seem to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I've got my fingers crossed, but we'll have to wait and see. That said, given the way the Fractured Steel portion of the existing update ended, the setup for whatever the next part is going to be, basically Steel Rain, is pretty good. It bodes well for what that update is. It should be a lot of fun, it should be interesting, there should be a lot of dichotomy in there, a lot of different choices, different paths to take. So that should be really, really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's just the scale of it that I have concerns about at this stage. So fingers crossed for the future, and I'll leave this one here rather than repeating myself and being overly miserable. But I do hope you folks found this interesting, informative, and useful. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships all available down below the video as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way, it's humongously helpful and massively appreciated. So huge thanks to everybody who's done that already. If you get a chance, do join us for one of our live streams coming up. We've got the end of Horizon Zero Dawn, some more Steel Dawn stuff to play in Fallout 76. And next week we'll be jumping into Cyberpunk 2077 on Thursday, so I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Should have a video leading into that as well, so I do hope you keep your eyes out open for that one. For now, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.